Test results show dangerous levels of lead in the water at some MPS schools. In some cases, the drinking water had more than 100 times the lead legally considered safe.
Parents should be very concerned.
Most Wisconsin schools and daycares don't test drinking water for lead. This was published May 19, 2016. Most schools and daycares in Wisconsin are not testing their drinking water for lead, despite the EPA strongly recommending it. Lead exposure is particularly dangerous for kids under 6. For young kids, even a drop of lead can cause behavioral problems, learning disorders, or lost IQ points. Representative Taylor says she started looking at childhood lead poisoning in Wisconsin after the crisis in Flint, Michigan. In Flint, the city used water from the Flint River, which led to elevated blood lead levels in children. Thousands of kids have lead poisoning in Wisconsin, about 4.5% of children who are tested. Flint was 4.9%, so we're not that far behind, Taylor said. But see, she's saying Flint. Flint is not a state. Flint, the city of Flint, is at 4.9%. The state of Wisconsin is at 4.5. But if you actually go to here, Milwaukee is at 10.82%. That's just Milwaukee, the city of Milwaukee. So 10.82%, and Flint is at 4.9. So we are way worse than Flint. Local health departments are trying to figure out where it came from. They've been focusing on lead paint. May 19th, 2016. They came out and said that most schools don't test. So MPS, Milwaukee Public Schools, came out after this and said that they will voluntarily test, because they're like, oh, we have nothing to hide, we have the best water, we're going to prove it. So they tested it. So now, December 19, 2016, MPS finds dangerous levels of lead in the water at some schools, test results show. In some cases, the drinking water had more than 100 times the level of lead that's legally considered safe. And legally considered safe is 15 parts per billion. So they have a link here for the test results. But see, the thing is, it takes you to a web page that doesn't work. And I have the page too. This is from Milwaukee Public Schools. This is their test results. This page used to work. I found the test results, and this I was looking into this a couple years ago, and you click here and it's supposed to bring up the test results, and it used to work because I wrote down all of the sample points in the high school that I attended, because I figured I wasn't going to write down every single MPS school. I was like, I'll just look at the high school that I went to. See, doesn't work. And I've contacted MPS about it and haven't heard anything back. So if I ever do hear back, I will update you. So yeah, I went through and I wrote down all of the points, all of the sample points in the high school that I attended, and all the sample points that were above 15 parts per billion. That's all. I didn't write down every single sample point because it would have took me forever. But on notebook paper, I took pictures of it. I'm going to put it on here. I wrote it all down for every sample point, and it took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5 notebook pages of all the points in just my high school that was over 15, and we're going to go through all those. I'm going to literally read through every single one, give you the sample point, I will give you the result, and I will give you the date that it was analyzed. February 27th, 2017, so 2 months later. No letter, no phone call, no email. MPS kept the lead test results quiet for months. So yeah, they didn't even inform the parents or anything. Anonymous sources from inside MPS have told me that when they did the lead tests and the results came back, what they did, because MPS came out and said that they shut down all of the bubblers and all the faucets that were above 15 parts per billion. Well, anonymous sources, for obvious reasons they're anonymous, they told me that MPS did not go and fix the problem. They said that at least in the location that they saw, the bubblers were taped off for about a week. There was no maintenance done to them, nothing, and then they were back on again. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it's kind of fishy that MPS, you know, they're hiding the test results now. Like, this used to work, because I didn't just pull these results out of my ass. Like, I have all this written down, and we're going to go through all of it. And you can see towards the end of the video, I'll go through and I'll show some of the video footage from the newscast. And they show, because they had the results a couple years ago, and you can see, like, on the screen exactly what I saw, which is what I wrote down on paper. I wish I would have known how to save it as a PDF at the time. I didn't know how to do that. So yeah, that was February 2017. No letter, no nothing. MPS didn't tell none of the parents. No. So this came out in May 5th, 2017. I'm not going to read all of this, but this was a map of Milwaukee showing all of the lead service lines. All the houses in Milwaukee that have lead service lines are the red ones, which is basically, you know, the old parts of Milwaukee, the south side and the north side. I want to get out of here. Oh shit, I closed it. So this shows you, 10.882 is the percentage of kids under 6 in Milwaukee who have lead poisoning. And this is, you can go through, these are all the, it starts here. So these are all the different cities and towns. Milwaukee was the worst. So 5. Grant County, I'm not exactly sure where that is. Lafayette County has 7. Racine is 6. Rock County is 6. Sheboygan is 8. Oh, that explains Sheboygan. Huh. Weird stuff happens in Sheboygan. Watertown is 7. Damn, son. So statewide it comes out to 5.01. Yeah, looking at Milwaukee though, that's fucking crazy. So compared to Flint, I don't know where it went, but yeah, compared to Flint, that's crazy. So this came out in March 22nd, 2019. So, that's 2 years later. This was last year. Increasing numbers of Milwaukee area children hospitalized for lead poisoning. Increasing numbers of Milwaukee area children are being hospitalized for severe lead poisoning. The pediatrician who serves as the hospital's medical director for community services delivered the disturbing news during a heated meeting at City Hall about lead poisoning in Milwaukee. Unlike other cities in the Great Lakes region, we have actually seen the number of children in our community who are hospitalized because of pediatric lead poisoning rise every 2-year period since 2013. That's right, I said the number of children in our community with the most extreme lead poisoning has risen since 2013. Our testimony came toward the end of a 3-hour public safety and health committee meeting during which 2 advocacy groups presented their concerns about how the city of Milwaukee handles its lead poisoning prevention efforts. The groups have repeatedly raised a number of concerns, including that infant mortality cases in Milwaukee are linked to lead pipes, especially along a stretch of West North Avenue, where they say the pipes were disrupted by things like water main work. If that area was inhabited by a bunch of timber wolves or rare booby birds that died, we would know more. They have also accused city officials of altering maps with lead poisoning data to downplay the seriousness of the problem. It reduces the visual impact of what's going on here. So yeah, it's affecting kids in their houses too, but when you guys see the results I got from this, which they don't want you to see, you'll see how bad it is and why this is happening. It's not just because of the houses. MPS is covering this shit up big time.
On Friday, Milwaukee Public Schools sent out a press release saying, quote, water coming from virtually all MPS drinking fountains meets Environmental Protection Agency standards. But a Fox 6 review of those results shows dangerous levels of lead at some schools.
These levels are too high. It's sad that this problem has been allowed to continue as long as it has.
Mark Edwards is the scientist who uncovered the lead in Flint, Michigan's water. He applauds MPS for being proactive and voluntarily testing, but says some of the results are dangerous.
You should be concerned even if you had one sip of that water.
The EPA says lead levels in water should be less than 15 parts per billion. But in some school buildings, certain fixtures tested at levels in the hundreds, 200s, and sometimes in the thousands. More than 100 times what's considered safe.
It's disturbing.
Alderman Bob Donovan says parents should contact school board members if they are still worried.
How many kids have been affected prior to those steps being taken?
MPS says it immediately turned off problematic sinks and bubblers, and they will be replaced. Here at Milwaukee Marshall High School, MPS officials knew back in August there were very high levels of lead in the water. District officials were discussing whether they would give bottled water out to students, but parents say they were never told.
I had no idea. I want to know why they didn't notify us parents of this.
In a statement, MPS Superintendent Darian Driver said, quote, the safety of our students, staff, and visitors are a top priority. You know, MPS they say they're being very transparent about this entire process. That's what their website says. But we've been trying to get these test results for 6 long months. So they're being kind of tight-lipped about what's next.
So this is Hamilton High School. This is where I went to school. And this is where I have the test results from. It's located at 6101 West Warnemont Avenue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I know when I went here, it was still one of the top high schools in Wisconsin. Now it's rated as one of the worst, which is just fucking awesome. But anyway, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss these test results. So I'm going to read each one of these. I'm going to read each sample point, the result, and the date. So sample point 18B1, the result was 62. Now keep in mind that 15 parts per billion is the recommended absolute highest you should have in your water or anything that's considered safe. I mean, no lead is safe, but 15 parts per billion is their magic number. So sample point 18/B1, the result was 62 on August 23rd, 2016. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to read every single date because a lot of these are repeats, but you guys can see that on the screen. I'm just going to read the sample points. Sample point 18B4, 60. Sample point 18B10, 30. Sample point 18B12, 100. Sample point 18B13, 18. Sample point 18B19, 160. Sample point 18B21, 31. Sample point 18B36, 51. Sample point 18B60, 500. And keep in mind, when I was looking at these, when the website still worked and allowed you to see all of the results, it also had a map, and you could pinpoint exactly where each sample point was in the building. And from what I could see, knowing because I knew the layout of the building from being there for 4 years, a lot of the sample points that have like the results like you're gonna see as we go along, some of these are in the thousands. Most of those were down by the gym on the boys side where the boys locker room is, which would be, if you're looking at this picture here, it's on this side of the building but down in the basement. So because this is the front of the building, if you go all the way over to the west side of the building, it's down there by the gym. That's where some of the highest levels were, where kids drink the most amount of water because you're thirsty from gym class, and all the kids working out for like wrestling and all that stuff, all down there. Okay, so back to the sample point 18B61 is 140. Sample point 18B62 is 280. Sample point 18B63 is 47. Sample point 18B64 is 20. Sample point 18B65 is 17. Sample point 18B66, 1,500. I'm not sure where that one was, but yeah, 1,500. And the safe level is 15. Sample point 18B67 is 31. Sample point 18B68 is 45. Sample point 18B69 is 64. Sample point 18B70 is 140. Sample point 18B71 is 38. Sample point 18B72 is 42. Sample point 18B73 is 62. Sample point 18B74 is 33. Sample point 18B75 is 56. Sample point 18B78 is 56. Sample point 18B79 is 150. Sample point 18B80 is 250. Sample point 18B81 is 23. Sample point 18B82 is 72. Sample point 18B83 is 89. Sample point 18B86 is 380. Now get ready for this one, guys. Sample point 18B87 is 5,000. 5 motherfucking thousand parts per billion. When 15, 1 5 is supposed to be the absolute maximum. 1 5. And sample point 18B87 is 5,000. Sample point 18B88 is 32. Sample point 18B89 is 86. Sample point 18B90 is 58. Sample point 18B91 is 22. Sample point 18B92 is 140. Sample point 18B93 is 100. Sample point 18B95 is 17. Sample point 18B99 is 26. Sample point 18B104 is 24. Sample point 18B106 is 16. Sample point 18B108 is 20. Sample point 18B109 is 120. Sample point 18B110 is 32. Sample point 18B111 is 98. Sample point 18B112 is 490. Sample point 18B122 is 18. Sample point 18B146 is 32. Sample point 18B154 is 100. Sample point 18B163 is 1,300. Sample point 18B188 is 79. Sample point 18B189 is 27. Sample point 237EG73 is 351. Sample point 055TK233 is 549. Sample point 206TK234 is 46.7. Sample point 158TK255 is 65.1. Sample point 158TK258 is 42.7. Sample point 158TK260 is 23.1. Sample point 158TK262 is 30.2. Sample point 337GH174 is 128. Sample point 81GH177 is 86.5. Sample point 81GH178 is 117. Sample point 81GH179 is 32.2. Sample point 81GH180 is 1,840. Sample point 81GH181 is 1,300. Sample point 81GH182 is 286. Sample point 81GH183 is 831. Sample point 66GH185 is 21.6. Sample point 66GH187 is 51.6. Sample point 66GH187 is 76.1. Sample point 66GH188 is 26.6. Sample point 66GH189 is 40.8. Sample point 66GH190 is 86. Sample point 66GH191 is 35.6. Sample point 66GH192 is 127. Sample point 66GH193 is 40.3. Sample point 22GH194 is 118. Sample point 22GH196 is 33.3. Sample point 22GH197 is 125. Sample point 22GH198 is 17.9. Sample point 22GH199 is 742. Sample point 22GH200 is 33.2. Sample point 22GH201 is 51.9. Sample point 301GH202 is 706. All right, 3 pages down. Sample point 301GH203 is 495. Sample point 301GH204 is 40. Sample point 241GH205 is 73. Sample point 241GH208 is 55.3. Sample point 241GH209 is 310. Sample point 241GH210 is 25.6. Sample point 241GH211 is 97.3. Sample point 298GH212 is 19.3. Sample point 298GH213 is 279. Sample point 298GH214 is 80.9. Sample point 289GH215 is 22.9. Sample point 046GH217 is 352. Sample point 046GH218 is 115. Sample point 176GH220 is 61.5. Sample point 182GH221 is 19.5. Sample point 182GH222 is 71.8. Sample point 182 GH223 is 98.3. Sample point 182 GH224 is 37.5. Sample point 182 GH225 is 29.8. Sample point 185 GH228 is 1,540. Sample point 185 GH229 is 16. Sample point 185 GH230 is 25.5. Sample point 075 GH231 is 52.7. Sample point 075 GH232 is 16.9. Sample point 075 GH233 is 73.5. Sample point 44 GH235 is 85.1. Sample point 44 GH237 is 21.7. Sample point 44 GH238 is 25.4. Sample point 44 GH240 is 307. Sample point 44 GH241 is 24.1. Sample point 44 GH242 is 1,470. Sample point 44 GH243 is 107. Sample point 217 TK712 is 709. Sample point 370 TK713 is 16.6. Sample point 274 TK277 Sample point 274 TK722 is 28.1. Sample point 238 TK937 is 23.9. Sample point 241 TK941 is 25.5. Sample point 116 TK943 is 115. Sample point 170 TK945 is 276. Sample point 331 TK948 is 50.3. Sample point 185 TK953 is 604. Sample point 016 TK962 is 125. Sample point 016 TK965 is 18.5. Sample point 016 TK976 is 28.2. Sample point 032 TK992 is 123. Sample point 032 TK995 is 16.8. Sample point 501 TK1001 is 365. Sample point 501 TK1003 is 545. Sample point 060 TK1016 is 20.2. Sample point 060 TK1017 is 75. Sample point 018 TK1018 is 241. Sample point 018 TK1019 is 228. Sample point 018 TK1020 is 439. Sample point 018 TK1021 is 139. Sample point 018 TK1022 is 20.8. Sample point 018 TK1023 is 311. Sample point 018 TK1024 is 169. Sample point 018 TK1025 is 53.4. Sample point 018 TK1026 is 285. Sample point 018 TK1027 is 100. Sample point 018 TK1028 is 901. Sample point 018 TK1029 is 941. Look, that whole cluster there is all fucked. Sample point 018 TK1030 is 76.6. Sample point 018 TK1031 is 469. Sample point 018 TK1032 is 419. Sample point 018 TK1033 is 29.7. Sample point 018 TK1034 is 849. Sample point 018 TK1035 is 417. Sample point 018 TK1037 is 136. Sample point 237 GH422 is 26.4. Sample point 026 TK1954 is 16.9. Last page, y'all. Last page. Sample point 18GH246 is 43.4. Sample point 18GH247 is 23.8. Sample point 18GH248 is 42.5. Sample point 18GH251 is 88. Sample point 18GH252 is 21.6. Sample point 397 GH253 is 82.6. Sample point 397 GH254 is 128. Sample point 397 GH255 is 225. Sample point 397 GH256 is 20.8. Sample point 018 TK417 is 62.7. Sample point 399 TK481 is 20.4. Sample point 295 TK486 is 22.2. Sample point 295 TK494 is 19.5. Sample point 412 TK496 is 24.6. Sample point 451 TK498 is 22.5. Sample point 006 TK499 is 27.4. Sample point 006 TK500 is 37. Sample point 006 TK501 is 47.7. Sample point 026 TK391QC is 21.5. Sample point 008 EG95QC is 61.8. We're almost there, guys. Sample point 268 TK627 is 29.7. Sample point 38 TK638 is 117. Oh, the big one's coming, guys. Sample point 38 TK639 is 25.1. Are you guys ready for this one? Are you fucking ready for the big one? Sample point 018 TK651. The result, 8,870 parts per billion. Lead in that faucet. 8,870. In faucet sample point 018 TK651. Tested on February 22nd of 2017. 8,870. Okay, a couple more. Sample point 018 TK652 is 24.3. Sample point 018 TK655 is 278. Sample point 018 TK656 is 125. Sample point 018 TK670 is 25.9. Sample point 018 TK671 is 229. Sample point 018 TK679 is 69.7. Sample point 018 TK689 is 18.3. Sample point 116 TK705 is 314. So that's the entire list of every faucet inside of Hamilton High School when they conducted these tests that tested above 15 parts per billion. And yeah, that last big one is fucking crazy. 8,870. But MPS is saying that they have the best water in Wisconsin, and that your children are safe. that they have nothing to hide. Yet, no letter, no phone call, no email, and you can't access the results anymore. But they claim they're being transparent, right? Posted on the MPS website. mpswatertesting.milwaukee.k12.8080/share/page/site/mps/data -list list equal. Yeah, I'm not reading this whole thing, but look, it doesn't work. No letter, no phone call. But they're being transparent, right? The safety of our students, staff, and visitors is top priority. We made the decision to test the drinking water in our buildings. MPS is not required by state or federal law to test the drinking water. We are doing this solely as a precaution to make sure our families and community have confidence in the safety of drinking water in MPS schools. The results found that 94% of the over 3,000 water fountains tested met EPA standards. Fixtures that did not meet standards were turned off immediately. After new fixtures are installed, we will test those drinking sources again before turning them on. But like I said, inside sources who I can't name have said that this is false. They taped off the old fucking bubblers for a couple days, a week, 2 weeks, didn't change anything, didn't reinstall nothing, and then turned them back on. And now MPS is hiding their results, and they weren't informing the parents. So what is going on? Why are they hiding this? They came out and said we're going to be transparent. MPS is being completely transparent, releasing the results of every single test that was conducted. The information can be found on this website. Click here to access in English. And then when you click on it, it doesn't do anything. And then you email them asking them for the results or for a link that works, and you get no response. So yeah, that's what's going on. While, almost 11% of kids in Milwaukee have lead poisoning, and MPS is hiding their results.
Three years ago, 4-year-old Cassius was diagnosed with lead poisoning.
1, 2, 6, go!
Since then, his mom, Crystal, has become sort of an expert on all things lead.
It's an issue. I can see it everywhere I go.
She thinks her little boy got lead poisoning from paint after he chewed on a windowsill when he was still a baby. Lead exposure is particularly dangerous for kids under 6. For young kids, even a drop of lead can cause behavioral problems or the loss of IQ points.
There you are.
In Wisconsin, Cassius is just one of thousands of kids who get lead poisoning each year.
Lead contamination in a young child, a child who's under 6, really causes brain damage. It causes literally cognitive problems that last that whole child's life.
State Representative Chris Taylor says she started looking at childhood lead poisoning in Wisconsin after the crisis in Flint, Michigan. In Flint, the city used water from the Flint River, which led to contaminated blood levels in children.
Thousands of kids have lead poisoning in the state of Wisconsin, about 4.5% of children who are tested. Flint was 4.9%, so we're not that far behind.
In Wisconsin, when a kid gets lead poisoning, local health departments try to figure out where it came from.
I think health departments are real heroes in this area.
They go to the child's home, test paint, test toys. It's a major investigation. But the one thing they almost never do?
They don't test water.
It isn't a routine part of any inspection that I know of.
While the Department of Health Services admits water is always a concern for lead poisoning, they focus most of their resources on lead paint.
That's the best use of our time and resources.
So when a kid gets lead poisoning, most of the time, nobody's testing the water at their house.
We're not testing water right now in the state of Wisconsin, even when you have a child who we know has lead poisoning.
And kids don't just drink water at home. The EPA strongly recommends schools and daycares test their drinking water for lead. But in Wisconsin, that's not happening either. State and federal law don't require it.
It's unconscionable to me.
The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources admits Wisconsin does not have a special or separate program to control lead in drinking water at schools and daycare facilities. Only schools with a private water supply or wells have to test their water.
Lead and copper is a standard test that the DNR requires from us.
At University School, for example, they have 2 wells. Water is regularly tested, and test results are publicly posted for parents to see.
And it's basically just so we know whether we passed or failed.
But if your kid goes to a school that has city water, and most do, schools are not required to test the water coming out of their sinks or fountains. Most daycares in Wisconsin don't have to test either. It's not required to be licensed.
I never had to test my water. Ever. Ever.
State Representative LaTanya Johnson used to run a daycare out of her home.
My pipes were filled with lead.
While Milwaukee has some of the cleanest water in the country, homes are old, and pipes and fixtures often have lead in them. If clean water travels through plumbing systems that contain the metal, the water that comes out of the faucet is more likely to be contaminated. It's a big concern, especially in homes built before 1986.
Children are at a greater risk because they're smaller, especially infants because of the formula. Their water intake is significantly higher.
Experts say there is no safe level of lead exposure for children. But in Wisconsin, testing the water, even when we know a child has been poisoned, isn't a top priority.
Any source of lead is an issue for us.
You guys just don't test the water routinely?
We don't test the water routinely because we go to what routinely causes lead poisonings.
And since paint is the prime suspect in these cases, water has largely been ignored. Do you know what year this building was built? You don't know? The Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources told us they don't track which schools or daycares might be testing water because testing is voluntary. So we tried to find out who is testing. Do you know if you have a lead service line outside under the ground? Don't know? Okay.
I just ran.
We sent a survey to the biggest school districts in southeastern Wisconsin and to Milwaukee daycares with lead service lines. We asked them, are they testing their water? Everyone who replied said no.
If we are not making sure that our children have safe drinking water at schools, then what are we doing? I mean, that should be our primary concern.
One of the daycares that wrote to us said they didn't know how to test. Good morning, I'm here to test your water. So we went to test for them. Lucky for them, their water came back clean. But Crystal Wozniak thinks every school and every daycare should be testing.
I think that water should be just as important.
When her son was diagnosed with lead poisoning, paint was the main focus of the investigation. She wondered why nobody was testing her water or asking about her pipes.
That's one of the things that we're kind of even owed.
So now that her son's starting school soon,
I'm worried for his brain, I'm worried for his bones.
She's the one who's asking the questions to be sure, no matter where he's at, her son's not exposed to any more lead.
Whether it be that the fence is put up, or the doors are locked, or the water's safe.
So now, Megan, do other states require that their schools and daycares be tested?
Absolutely. There are a lot of states that are actually more proactive than Wisconsin is. New Jersey, Washington State, Missouri, a handful of others. There's some movement in Congress right now to pass what's called the Test for Lead Act that would require Wisconsin schools to test their water. There are 31 co-sponsors of that federal legislation. Nobody from Wisconsin.
There is no law that requires MPS to test its water for lead. The district says it did so voluntarily to reassure the community the water is safe. But in many schools, safe water is not what MPS found. And our investigation finds they knew that 5 months before they told you.
These are kids' life that you're playing with.
Jeffrey Hawkins' daughter came home from school last month and said a classmate warned her not to drink from the bubbler.
Don't you know it have lead in it? My daughter said, no, I don't know.
Lead is a toxic metal that can lower a child's IQ and lead to learning disabilities, behavioral problems, impaired growth, even hearing loss. But Hawkins says no one at McDowell Montessori School told him anything.
No letter, no phone call, no email, nothing.
McDowell is one among dozens of MPS schools where testing showed dangerous levels of lead in some water fixtures. In fact, 9 out of 10 faucets and drinking fountains at McDowell had some amount of lead, and 2 out of 10 surpassed the EPA's action level of 15 parts per billion. That includes one bubbler that tested 31 times too high.
We have a big problem.
District-wide, more than 2,000 samples came in over the limit, including 183 from drinking fountains.
Some of those particular water faucets and drinking bubblers had exceptionally high levels of lead as a source.
Milwaukee Alderman Jim Bowl chairs the city's Water Quality Task Force. He says the MPS results are especially troubling because of one thing.
None of those schools had leaded service lines.
While the city is worried about lead pipes leading into thousands of houses, that's not the only source of lead in water. It can also come from lead solder and corroded plumbing in old faucets and drinking fountains.
As a product of MPS, I've been drinking that water forever.
Wendell Willis is Chief Operations Officer for Milwaukee Public Schools. He says they did not have to test for lead. They did so voluntarily.
We believe, and our assumption is, we have quality water for our students. But we'd rather not just have an assumption.
Last summer, the district tested nearly 13,000 sinks, spigots, and water fountains.
The labs say test high, we shut it down.
Any fixture that tested above the limit was taken out of service for repair or replacement.
Never was informed. Not one time.
When was the first time that you told parents lead had been found in the water?
So beginning really with going back to school, right? You know, we have positive test results, but again, you cannot get water from that fixture.
While it's true MPS shut down fixtures that tested too high, our investigation found no evidence they told parents that lead had been found when school resumed in the fall. MPS first shared preliminary test results with the Milwaukee Health Department on August 1st, but more than a month later, the district had yet to tell parents. Questions came in from the news media, state lawmakers, even the district's own nursing staff, until finally MPS sent letters to parents.
Those letters never said lead was found. They just say
so now you want to engage in a debate about the semantics of the words being used.
The September 9th letters called the tests precautionary, even though 99% of the testing was already done. Thousands of samples had already tested positive. The district was already sending bottled water to affected schools, and sinks and bubblers were already being replaced.
Why not say something right away to parents?
So again, we actually did say that to parents in those particular schools, right? We weren't going to make a massive, widespread kind of announcement.
Willis says it was up to principals to spread the message by word of mouth.
Did you follow up to make sure the principals did that?
We tried to in most cases.
Parents and students we talked to say they didn't get the message.
This is the first time I heard of it.
No, not a word.
I feel like I was deceived as well as every other parent that was there.
Emails obtained by Fox 6 News show MPS and city officials spent the month of August trying to decide what to tell the public. On August 2nd, the health department's Paul Biedrzycki writes, "We want to make sure we're calibrated in our messaging." On August 12th, a staffer in the mayor's office suggests it would be good to speak with one voice for the public. August 25th, MPS spokesperson Denise Calloway writes, "We really need to huddle around this."
That's coordination. That's not collusion.
And Willis says it was up to the health department to tell them when to release results.
They provide the final blessing as to what should be released into the entire public.
The Milwaukee Health Department says at no time did it recommend that MPS withhold test results. But MPS did withhold results, repeatedly denying our request for access, even claiming that no records could be located in August, again in September, and a third time in November. This is huge. Milwaukee Alderman Mark Borkowski says someone ought to be held accountable.
It's like they had information, but they didn't want to share information.
I've seen a number of examples of where we tried to provide people with data that was considered raw data, and it had been used against us in a not friendly manner.
It wasn't until 3 months after testing was complete that MPS finally posted results online. But even then, they downplayed the findings, proclaiming virtually all drinking fountains meet EPA standards. Never mind that 16% of all samples failed the test, including 6% of the bubblers.
Is that good enough to say virtually all of them are good?
I think it is.
Hey, we got 94%. We doing good.
Hawkins says until there's no lead at all, it's not good enough.
Do you feel the water at MPS is safe?
I feel the water at MPS is the safest water we've got in Wisconsin. Why would we say anything else?